Yeah, it's been a while since I posted a video, hasn't it? Until I get another one out the door, this will be a video on the new Mario Kart 8 DLC, considering that my last video from 5 months ago was on Mario Kart 8. Natch. Bear in mind, aside from some of my past tweets for reference, this will be a completely unscripted video. This is mostly me testing out my microphone that I've been holding on to for 3 months and have never really put to use. So hopefully this will be a good testing bed into future reviews I do as well, which will be of much higher quality. I'm going to spend the vast majority of this video on the tracks, so if you want my impressions of the characters very quickly, here they are. I like the new colours of the Yoshis and Shy Guys. I think they add a little bit more variety to the roster, even though they're very superficial. I like Link, although his proportions are clearly weirder than the others. He's taller than every other character in the game, including Bowser, and Cat Mario and Tanuki Peach or whatever can go get lost up a tree. There are also new karts, but again, that's not really what I'm looking for in terms of new Mario Kart content, so if they're there, if you want it, I don't even mind the Mercedes-Benz DLC that came out a little while back, but I couldn't care less about most of that junk. So instead, let's just get to talking about the tracks. Yoshis Island, to my knowledge, originally debuted in Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube, found its way to Mario Kart Wii. I actually really liked this track. I didn't know how much I liked it until I'd raced it here. The main gimmick is that you're racing along the outline of a Yoshi, which would sound like a stupid design for a track, but it actually works really well. The track is all turns, it's all curves, but they're all shaped slightly differently, so you really have to pay attention if you want that perfect drifting line. But if you do, it just feels wonderful to race on. It's just, I have no complaints about it either. Like, the redone Double Dash theme is really good. It looks brilliant, looks lovely. Yeah, it just has a few very good shortcuts. Just honestly, absolutely one of my favourite tracks in the series from now on. Just brilliant, no complaints. Next up is Rainbow Road, based on the Super Nintendo Rainbow Road, actually. Making this the third Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 8. This is probably my least favourite. All of the turns are 90-degree turns, except for one fork in the road with a ramp in the middle. The only obstacles that serve to hinder your progress are these thwomps that will come down and crash the stage, and the fact that there are no railings at all. And that's it. It's a very bland, very forgettable take on this unique aesthetic. I can't say it's a terrible track, but it's completely uninspired. Just nothing to really write home about. But hey, you get to run the full 3 laps, you know, that must be an improvement to some people. Excitebike Arena. Oh, good lord, I hate this track. This is easily my least favourite track in all of DLC. It's probably my second least favourite track in all of Mario Kart besides Baby Park. It's just this completely uninspired, completely banal track to race on. It's like a typical circuit track with 2 hairpins, and that's it. They try to diversify it with ramps and mudslides to work around and work with. It just doesn't really work. It just feels very static and feels very boring to race on. Like, just, it does not play to the franchise's strengths at all. Even with the myriad jumps you can do, it's just completely uninvolved. Just, there is no dynamics to it. Yeah, just absolutely my least favourite track of this DLC by quite some margin. Warios Mine is a bit of an oddball in my opinion. Obviously it debuted in Mario Kart Wii. I don't know if I would call this a bad stage, but there's definitely not a lot to really love about it. It feels like the only track in the entire series to be tangibly improved by the addition of hovercrafts and anti-gravity. But it's still quite lackluster because all of the turns are too shallow to drift on, except for one, which goes up a hill, which leaves you almost blind to it. So yeah, just not a lot of flow to it, not a lot of diversity to it. Just it does look good. It's got spectacle on its side, but again, just not very involved or fulfilling. Dragon Driftway. This is a kind of cool track. It definitely plays to the series' strengths. It relies on drifting a lot, as the name would imply. The gimmicky aesthetic, I actually think it works in its favour, because it reminds me of all those obligatory theming tracks of Crash Team Racing, which is, in my opinion, the best game of this genre. Yeah, like, it looks good, plays pretty well. It's not spectacular, but it is definitely fun no matter how many times you play it. No real complaints either, except, I guess, the final turn, actually, it has some, hazardous grass on it, and it feels a little superfluous, because it's very hard to attack in any consistent manner. It just, it feels a little out of place, it feels a little restrictive. Otherwise, I can wholeheartedly recommend this track. Alright, this should be evident as to how I feel about it. I completely forgot the name of the ice track. I don't know if I would call it bad, but it's definitely not good. Mostly because it feels like a complete rip-off of the Electrodome that's already in the base game. Two separate paths running parallel as well as overlapping each other. Speed poles on the final turn just before the big jump that leads to one more turn before the finish line. It's all there. It feels very, very similar. And Electrodome just has the better aesthetic, the better musical gimmick. And the gimmick of being able to jump down from an overlapping track onto the one running underneath doesn't save it. It's, just not really a lot to call the track its own. It's not even a terrible track, it's just not a very unique one in the grand scheme of the franchise. I was expecting this to blow, I was expecting this to be gimmicky from the moment out, but the new Zelda track is fucking awesome. It's all set pieces, like it's all set piece driven, it's all atmospheric rather than being actually designed, but it still feels really good to play because it all works, it all flows with each other. There's not a bit that feels out of place. Got lots of very good shortcuts that play in with Zelda, and even though the coins being changed into rupees doesn't really strike me as brilliant, having the treasure chest theme being sped up when you pick up an item box is just flat out awesome, just a great nostalgia trip. The turns are long and winding rather than really short and narrow, but I feel this really works too. Did not expect to be liking this track as much as I did, but I can definitely see myself coming back to this one again and again. And then there's Mute City, or the F-Zero track. It's no surprise that this one is really good, but that's because if you stick a great racing track inside of another racing game, well, yeah, then that's what you get. You just get a great racing track inside of a racing game, all over again. That said, when you stick a track from one game into another, it's no surprise that some of it doesn't quite work. My big issue is with the shield area at one of the very first turns. It's around the back end of the turn, actually. And it just wastes precious track real estate, and it just feels distracting to go there. There's a shield area early on along a linear strip that works much better. The shield areas are supposed to give you coins too, so they do serve a purpose. It's just, in that first turn, it's just a little distracting to have this fat area of land that goes absolutely nowhere. Otherwise, it's pretty good. It's all hovercraft, as you would imagine. And a lot of the turns are really tight, some of them are really wide. Just a pretty varied, pretty cool track to drive on. Now, I'm usually not one for arbitrary rankings, but I feel like in this case they can probably work for themselves. So if I were to rank them, it would be, from top to bottom, it would be Yoshi Circuit, Hyrule Circuit, Mute City, Dragon Driftway, the Ice Level, Rainbow Road, Wario's Mine, and Excitebike. Possibly shifting around Rainbow Road and Wario's Mine. I think Wario's Mine would probably go on top, actually, just works just a little bit more, just has a bit more fluidity to it. Now, even though I only found 3 of the tracks really brilliant, I would still say this DLC is worth picking up, even individually, although preferably in a bundle just to save that little bit of money, and for the promise of the Animal Crossing characters and whatever Animal Crossing track or tracks might come our way. I'll probably do another video like this when that second load comes out in May. That's a fucking long wait. In the meantime, what can you expect from me? I am working on reviews. I am going to do one for the Subspace Emissary in Brawl before the Wii U version of Smash Bros. 4 comes out. I've delayed putting this video off because I was busy playing Halo, actually, but the level I'm up to is the library, so, you know, that can wait. So yeah, this is just a fairly quickly put together little video just to remind you that I'm not dead. I will return. Even though I've only made one video so far.